glad to be here today. I will not pretend to have all the answers for you, but I'm looking forward to sharing with you the journey that we've been through. We've got a few friendly faces in the audience that are part of the journey we've been on, and don't be surprised if I might call on you. So I am here from Dow Chemical. The role that I have at Dow is called Business Process Director. And so when you see a couple slides, I'll explain how that role came about and what exactly that means. And as well, I kind of want to set the stage that the scope of what I'm going to talk about today is broader than IT, OT. It is really about an organization that we have put together across all of the business processes within Dow, ranging from supply chain, finance, manufacturing, of course, and how we've incorporated the IT organization in with that. So it's a different model, probably not for everybody, but glad to share it. I've been with Dow for 28 years, and much of that was in our information systems organization. Several years ago, I moved to manufacturing and engineering, and I'll kind of take you through the journey of how we've gotten there. Let's see. Should I just start pressing buttons and see what happens? What? Well, maybe I'm pointing it to the right place. If you were me. Oh, it would be the right hand if you held it upside down. Okay. A little bit about Dow Chemical. Most of you are probably familiar with the company. Just a few at a glance stats. About a $58 billion company. Very broad-based, sell across these range of products and businesses that you see up here. We have about 53,000 employees, and yes, we have a couple significant mergers that have been announced. Those are all in negotiation, so we won't get into that today. But anyway, just at a glance, here's Dow. It really works when you press the right side. It's awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit to start with about what our organizations look like, probably very traditional to many of yours, before a very large project that we undertook that you'll see at the bottom here. We were very, very traditional in our functional silos of information systems was its own department, finance is its own department, supply chain, some intermingling of some of those functions with the businesses, but fairly siloed and would come together for some events and some projects. From 2009 to 2014, we undertook a very significant project. And we're an SAP shop for our enterprise systems, and we were about the last company on the planet that was still running SAP R2. And I would liken that to if you bought a car and got about 400,000 miles out of it. And that is what we did with SAP R2. We went as far as we would acquire other companies that may be on a higher version of SAP, and we would pull them back to SAP R2. Not just because we were in love with the tool, but because we had invested so much in our work processes that went along with the tools that was really a full package, and it made more sense with each of those acquisitions and as we did growth to bring everyone to that same common platform. So it was a common platform across Dow in terms of being on the same version, and we had multiple instances of that based on our large geographies. In 2009 was finally the tipping point. We acquired Roman Haas, and Roman Haas was on a much further version of SAP than we were, and so the decision was made that it was finally time to migrate. And I'll talk a little bit about organizationally how we got together for that. So we put together one large project organization that really was kind of a series of different teams based on the functions that people came from. The IT organization was consulting, doing a lot of the project management, certainly the coding, certainly the technical work that needed to be done. And then we had teams that came from the different functions. The role I played during that was leading teams that came from manufacturing and engineering that had modules that were being implemented in SAP. And for those that are interested in that, on the manufacturing and engineering and operations side, we did implement a new capability for plant maintenance, for project systems with engineering, for quality, for production operations management, and then also in our space we have environmental health and safety operations. We're using the waste management module. And each of those required some level of integration with other business processes or with other functions. You take, for example, project systems. This is a module of SAP that kind of overlays our engineering capital project management structure on top of the finance and procurement modules that we have and pulls that all together. So you can't very efficiently just work in a silo and be just project systems. To effectively make that happen, you really needed good integration across those teams. And we mostly achieved it through this project. The reason I've got this oval here, this business process expertise, is that as needed, we pulled in those that had the expertise from different areas. So we may have some engineering capital project specialists that came in to work on, as I was describing, project systems. Or when we did the quality module, we would pull in people that had business quality roles, that had that type of expertise to come in. They may or may not officially have been part of the project. They may have pulled in and out and kind of been on a consulting basis. And then the way that we implemented that project was on a geographic scale, with one exception. Our first foray into it was we brought in all of Roman Haas and brought that up onto the new layer of SAP. And from there, we worked our way from smallest to largest of geographies and did kind of a big bang, all of Latin America, followed by all of Asia, followed by all of Europe, then followed by all of North America. And I can tell you that was a very, very exciting year in which we brought all of Europe and all of North America on in the span of about 4 months. But this worked pretty well for project, but there were certainly instances where you didn't have everybody lined up very well between those business processes. Still some turf wars here and there, still some conflict sometimes, whether it was between IT and some of the functions. So if you look at some of the learnings that we had from that, and these are just a few, and they're pretty high level, and I could talk at length about learnings later on. One of the biggest learnings we had was having a better business process understanding definitely leads to a lot better implementation success. And I'll tell you from real life how this worked out. As I mentioned, we began with Roman Haas, which was on a much higher version of SAP at the time. And we went and implemented the new tool. And we implemented the Dow processes. But we didn't emphasize how strongly we needed to implement the processes as well as the tool. And if you look back across all the implementations we did, that was the least smooth. Because within the tool, those businesses and work processes were so tightly ingrained that where there were failures and there were problems getting trucks out the gate and shipment papers created and certificates of analysis to customers, in almost every case, it was because the business or the work processes had not been well instantiated. It's one thing to run a training and say, here's how we do demand planning, and everybody nods and says that's great. It's another thing if you need to have that fully ingrained when you do demand planning with this new tool that looks kind of like the old tool you had. It's kind of easy to revert back and do it the way you used to do because that's how your old tool looked. So that was a real big learning. As we went on through the rest of the heritage Dow regions, it went a lot smoother, even though the tool was light years ahead looked so much different. The new tool that we implemented that was being implemented on well understood processes, and that actually went a lot better. We found when we're collaborating well between the business processes, we've got a lot more agility. We've got things a lot better to move. We found when we could make a team, I'll use that project systems example, when you could really have capital project management people from engineering, and you could have finance people and procurement people and the IT people configuring the system all sitting together in the same room, things progressed very, very quickly. When we would have situations where, and this is a real life example, someone over in planning decides to fix something that they see as an error in their system, and they think nothing about what the downstream effect is, and they go ahead and implement it. We've got quality issues flying out over here. We've got production issues flying out over there because they haven't collaborated. So those were some really big learnings, that the closer that we stay linked, the better off we are. And we really found that when we had IT and the functions well aligned, we were just making a lot better progress. So when it was not such a tight division of your information systems and you're the function, those were the teams that were really doing better. So a simple model to show you. I'll talk a little bit about what's here conceptually. It's not a model that's going to work for everybody, but it's one that we've put together that's working quite well for us. So we completed the big project at the end of 2014, and so we rolled out this new model at the beginning of 2015, and we've been living it and growing it and improving it ever since then. So I do come to you with saying we've been living in this environment for a year, and we've executed some pretty significant projects since it's been in place. And what this really is, this is, I almost term it a coalition. We have teams that, if you look at their administrative alignment, they actually go back to the function that they came from. So for most of the people that are in my organization, they come up through me, and our organizational alignment is up through manufacturing and engineering. I also have IT people that are part of my team that report to me, but matrix back to information systems. That's actually who's paying for them. That's where they kind of calibrate for their overall performance at the end of the year. But they are part of our team for all the day-to-day work, for the goal setting, the project work, and it's very transparent kind of who comes from what parent organization. And the way we make this work is, if you look at the couple boxes at the top, this is no longer an IS is living in the shadows kind of a thing, or IS is doing their own thing and the rest of the company finds out later. This combination of IT and process is known at the top levels of the company. So we have an executive steering team with a number of our corporate vice presidents and a number of our highest level business presidents serve as part of this overall steering team. And this is the group that in the past, when we would do IT investment planning, it used to be information systems had a bucket of money and kind of secretly determine what was getting worked on and rolled it out to the rest of the company. No, this plan gets rolled up all the way to the top level, where that set of priorities is fought over and agreed upon, and we're going to give this much to businesses, and we're going to do this for functional specific projects. That's where those big decisions get taken. And then just below that, this level of leadership in the next red box is 6 people, and it's the CIO. And along with her, there are 5 other functional leaders. So my own leader who manages operations in some other areas. There's a leader from finance and a couple others. So that team of 6 really then sets a lot of the next level priorities down. And then you see within our simple matrix, if you start looking at these blue boxes here, down, and I'm going to just get down here and point. So if you see right here, these are business process teams. I didn't name out all of our groups, just really no need for that. But if you take business process team 1, that could be my team. And what you have there are the process experts and the tool support for manufacturing and engineering tools. We'll get back to engineering itself. That's actually still a separate organization. I'll talk about how we partner. Doesn't roll up under this organization. But in terms of the SAP tools and many of the non-SAP tools and all of the work process and business process that goes around that is there for manufacturing, engineering, and EH&S operations. And you look at these other business process teams, and they may encompass, there was one for finance, there's one for supply chain, there's one for purchasing, et cetera. We also coming across here for some of our larger businesses that have pretty significant IT direction on their own, there are some business teams, and some of our businesses have their own IT and system development. And then we have enabling teams here, things that cross everybody. So things like change management, security, training, et cetera, are teams that everybody works with. And then across the top here, other areas that touch everybody else, architecture, so system and enterprise architecture. We have steering teams. We have the Center of Excellence, which sets kind of overall standards and guidelines, program offices for running projects, and then we have several partnerships with strategic vendors, so we've got vendor management there as well. So I do want to mention, because we're talking about IT/OT. Did I do that? Because we're talking about IT/OT. Engineering is a separate organization, certainly in Dow, and we've got some of our representatives here running some of the very major projects, product management for MES systems and for our control systems. What I would say out of this organization is we have a lot better collaboration than we used to. We didn't always collaborate so well. We now actually have a governance team. A few of the members are actually here, and that's a governance team that sits down and looks at the projects that crosses over the borders from this organization to our engineering supported tools. So say you've got a business that's putting in a new MES system and they need to have that integrated to the enterprise. That team's going to take a look at that, make sure we've got the right resources and priorities jointly to make sure that that gets done. So really just kind of pulling all of this together, you look at this from kind of a people, process, and technology aspect. We've got in the people team, making a change like this is not simple. And so there's a lot of change management that goes into that to get people all aligned and working together. It's a continuous journey that we're on and one that we keep pursuing. The real key to success here is having the business processes and the expertise for that owned within this organization. So for instance, in my own team, we have now brought in the corporate quality management function that used to be entirely separate. A team like mine might have supported the tools for that. We now are the ones that generate all of the metrics and governance, et cetera, for corporate quality. And then the technology, in terms of tools and systems. This organization was born out of the SAP project and integrating that to some other tools, and it has really grown to many of the other tools and systems around it. I would say within the last few months, we've brought in about 15 more people into my team that were like islands. They were people that were off there supporting their own system here and their own system there, and we're bringing that together because you've got a lot better integration, you've got a chance to let those people grow in their careers, and it's turned out to be a lot better for the people and for the systems. And so just a few of the observations to wrap up 1 year into this. Again, I volunteered. I said I could talk about this 1 year ago, but I was a little nervous. But 1 year we can say we're doing it. One of the many benefits is we're seeing some really nice career movement in between functions, because this really highlights the integration between. I mean, I've got examples just in recent months where people have moved from our quality or manufacturing teams into supply chain. People are moving from IS jobs in and out of some of these traditional functional roles, because as they're working together, you're seeing that the difference in what we're doing is not so great, and it's been a really nice career development possibility for employees. We're also seeing this as a great, whether it's a pass-through job or come and stay here for a long, long time, for our younger employees, say within manufacturing and engineering. This is a great way to come in kind of earlier in your career and see a really broad swath of the company. So that kind of speaks to employee exposure. We're finding with projects that we're having a quicker turnaround by having kind of a one-stop shop and one organization to come to, whereas previously if you had to figure out how to run this project that needed some people from supply chain and finance and purchasing, it was really difficult to try to organize that in the past. Challenge number one is really some of the complexities around having a matrix organization. I tried to describe to you the complications of, oh, I've got these people and some IS, and they come here and they go out. We managed through that, but certainly having, our matrix is like a Rubik's Cube of matrix. Having that many matrix relationships is a little bit challenging. But glad I could share the story with you, and I think we'll move on and I can answer any questions on the panel.